Welcome back, my friends. And now what we are going to do is we are going to model an object using modeling techniques, because I mean we already know how to use our basic models and how we can create basic shapes, but we want to extend our knowledge, right? So let's try to create a cup, you know, a glass, something for to hold something to drink, and put it on top of the table. So what we want is, in this case, probably we are going to take a cylinder. All right, so we have a cylinder in here. We're gonna put it on top of the actual table. Now remember that you can move all the time. You can get closer. I am not doing that so that you can see better what is going on when I do that. But you can always come like this. I'm gonna go to Object. I'm gonna change the radius to something like, I don't know, what would be a nice point in here? Probably 2.5. That's really skinny. So probably 5. That will be 10 centimeters, and probably that's probably fine. I will go like that. And then height, I will use 10, 15, probably 20 centimeters tall. And let's see what we get. So probably that will be a glass. All right, small glass. I'm going to press S in order to get closer to my object, and that's what I get. And you can see that is not right at the surface. So what I can do, if I want to see that, I have an option here called panel, and if I click on the panel option, I can go and switch between the panels. You can see that I have 4 different panels and 4 different views. If I go to view 3, you can see now that I get access to this panel where I can get closer and now have a perfect view of where my object is being placed. So I can put it right in here. All right, so I'm going to place it right in there. Now another thing that you can see here is that I have these divisions where that allow me to see how many different kind of polygons I have on this object. Now I'm going to go back to my panel. I'm going to go here, view 1, and I'm going to get back to here. Now I want to edit the points and values of polygons of this object, all its elements. But right now I don't have access to see that information. What I need to do is go to display in this menu, and now I'm going to go to this one that says go around shading lines, and I'm going to click on this, and you have actually a shortcut where you can go NB or NA, and if you go like that, just you're going to go like that. And then if you go N, you can see that when I press N, temporarily I get this menu, this floating menu, and then I go A, and then I get back to that, and then N, and then I go B, and I get to this one. All right, so A and B, N. And all right, so we have this object, and now I can see the divisions that I get. I don't want that number of divisions, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this height, this height segments. I'm going to change it to 1. I only want 1 segment. And now rotation segments is okay. I don't really care about this one, but I could increase it to something like 20 if I want to. All right. And now another thing that I want to do is I want to create a bevel on the actual caps. So if I go to caps, I can uncheck that, and now I'm going to go and get an empty glass, and you can see, well, it's just a piece of paper like that with that shape, but I want to get some sort of volume in here in between the walls, so the glass, the actual glass. So we could use segments for this, and I could delete the one in the middle. I will get this other portion as my value for the depth of the glass, but I don't want to use that. What I want to use actually is this one called Fillet. Now the Fillet allows me to create this kind of nice beveling effect where I can increase the segments and make it a lot nicer. I can increase the radius or decrease it, you know, in this case, because it's a really small object. If I go with 1, I will get this kind of high value. So in cases when you're dealing with this type of thing, what you can do is just go and try to play with the values in here. So for example, I will go and say, you know what, you're going to be 10 instead of 5, and you're going to be 40 instead of 20. And that's going to increase the size of my object, and I'm going to be able to get a better kind of behavior with these type of effects, like in this case, the rounded edge and the edge that we have in here. So that's basically what we want, or what I want at this point. Now I want to take this, and I'm going to call this glass right now, and I want to make it editable, because now I want to start working with the actual components of this object. So I am going to click on make editable, click once, and now the object is glass, and now I have all the components available. Now remember that I told you that these 3 buttons were really important. Now if you press enter, you're going to be able to switch, well, once you have some of them selected, I believe. And no, why is that happening? well, I'm supposed to, oh, maybe, no? I don't know why this thing is not working, but I should be able to use this. Well, you can see that we can access to them just by clicking like this, but I should be able to press enter and navigate in between these objects. I don't know why that is happening, but all right, you can click on them. And so now if for some reason, all right, you want to work with points, all you have to do is just paint the points that you want to use. In this case, they're going to be like that, and shift and keep selecting the points that you want, just like this. Shift, or remember, you can go select the tool and then go to we have our options, selection, only visible elements. I can check that, and now I'm going to be able to select everything that I can touch, just like this. And now I have this selection. Now the thing here is that for some reason there is a value in there. Oops. As you can see here, I'm going to select now my move tool, or press A, and now I can move these points. I should be able to move these points. What is going on here? Come on, give me a break. All right, that's the problem. I was in this mode, and now you can see that, yeah, that's the problem. Now I can press enter, and you can see how I'm switching. All right, thank you. Something happening here. I pressed this button by mistake, but that's the way. All right, thank you very much. Now I'm going to be able to work with this. So everything is selected. I'm going to move these points, and you can see how these points are being able to be moved. Now, one thing that I want you to keep in mind is that sometimes I get mistakes, and I make mistakes, and I don't like to delete them, all right? Because that way you know why they happened, and that's really cool. But because obviously what happens if I don't know and I just leave you with that? Obviously I knew that there was something going on, but I didn't know what was the problem. But now we know, and you know. So if you make the mistake of checking one of these options, you're going to be editing in another mode. And well, in this case this one works, but in this case that one, I don't know, now it's working, everything is working, but you know, I don't know what happened. All right, so I told you that it should work with that value, but all right, so now we can move again and select our objects in here, and we can, I'm gonna check that. By the way, this is a mode that we use in order to move our axis. Don't worry about it right now, just make sure that it's not highlighted like this, and we're gonna be able to move these points. Now I don't want to move the points in here. What I actually want to do is I want to increase the size of this. I want to make it thicker. So I'm going to select my scale tool, or you can press T, and then I'm going to move that, drag just anywhere on my screen, and I'm going to drag in my viewport in here, and I'm going to give it a shape. And you can see here that that kind of gives me a shape of a glass, something like that goes like this. And right now I am not really worried about this because it's just a glass that I am bringing from my imagination and just from a basic shape, but you get the idea. And I want to show you some of the tools that we can use. Now we are editing with points. Now we need to edit probably with polygons. So I'm going to press enter. And now you can see that if I click enter, I go to points, enter, I go to lines, and then enter, I go to polygons. Now with polygons, what I can do is I can actually use my tool, again, selection tool, my live selection tool, and I can just drag like this. And I am only looking at the visible elements, so that's nice. I am not selecting anything else. And now what I could do is just take this and say, you know what, I want them to go all the way down, and I get something that looks like the glass. All right, and that will be an option. But I want to show you something else. In here, what I'm doing is I am moving these values, all right, and I get this kind of extrusion. It's not an extrusion, it's just that I'm moving these values, and you can see here that I could take this, by default, you can see that everything is flat in here, but if I take this guy and move it just a little bit, I'm going to get a curvature under the other side of the edge. So that's actually what I want to do. And now I want to call another object that is going to help me to edit this. So I'm going to go to mesh, and in here I can click on these guys, on this grabber. I'm going to bring this to here, and I have this super tool called Extrude. This is your most helpful tool, I will say, in 3D modeling. But what you can do here is just use them from here, or you can actually use the shortcut. For example, if you place your cursor on top of one of these, you can see that it says MT, all right? So if I press D, I'm gonna go automatically to this tool. But if you don't have that, if you want to see all of the tools, you can call the menu and you press M and you get this temporary menu, just like the other menu that I showed you. And here you can see that letter T has extrude. So M, menu, and then T, and you're gonna get the tool, all right? So that's really nice. Now, if we extrude like this up, you can see that I am getting this object going up, but I am creating another set of polygons. It's not that I am moving the ones that were existing in there. I am actually creating another set, and I could go like that and just bring that to there, and then I could create another set, and you can see that I can create another set, and I'm creating a bunch of polygons like that. So that's what is happening. I only want to go from here all the way to the bottom, but the problem right now is that as you can see here, I get this, so I'm going to stay right in there. And now I want to keep editing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my move tool, and I can now move. I am not extruding anymore. I can move these polygons now that I have that extrusion, and I can move them all the way to probably the bottom of this. Not to the bottom, but just to where the actual bevel starts. And now you can see that could be a little bit difficult to do this by just like with this view. What you can do is go to panel, but I have another option for you. Instead of using these panels, just click in this little guy here on the corner, and you're going to be able to jump into the different panels that you have available in Cinema 4D. Now the one that I want probably is this one, so I'm going to make this one bigger, and now I can see exactly where I am, and I can say, you know what, I want you right in there. Now I want to see this object from the top, so I'm going to click again, and now where is the top view? I believe is this one. I'm going to get closer to this, and yes, I know it's this one, so I click again, I make it bigger, and now I have this selection. I'm going to select my scale tool, and now I can take these guys and I can make them smaller, and you can see that I am not getting a perfect shape in here. It looks like something has been moved, and probably when I moved my points, I didn't make it perfect. So that's what is happening, and you know, sometimes that happens. So I'm going to try to eyeball it, and just from here I'm going to take this value, put it right in here, and then I'm going to take this, I'm going to try to put it back on the center. And that's I believe that happens because I was moving the top of the points when I was showing you the points. But that's how I am able to put that into shape. I'm going to click again, and then I'm going to click again in here, and I get my glass. It should be there. I'm going to press S in order to get closer to it, and you can see that here's my glass. Now if you want to get out of this editing mode, all you need to do is go and select the model object in here. But before I do that, I want to create a nice bevel in here, because right now you can see that this section is kind of rounded and this section is not. So we are going to use our other component, which is the edges, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to double click on it. You can select once and then shift and keep clicking, but if you have two and then you shift and double click on it, you're gonna get the entire loop. And this is really nice because you don't waste a lot of time, you know, doing that. So now that we have this, I want to use another tool, and this one is called the Bevel. So I can click on this one, Bevel, and let's go and move this. I can click and drag, and you can see that I'm getting more definition in here, just like that. And you can go like this and start creating, for example, more subdivisions, 2, 3, 4, and get a rounded kind of edge in here. And now the problem in here is that we have this, but we are not getting this rounded shape because there is another loop in here that we created when we extruded our object. So what I can do is just stay like this and create this. I'm gonna reduce the values in here. There are too many, just to something like probably 2, now 1. That's it. And you know what, I think that is gonna work for now. We have our object. Now I can press 9, for example, if you want to go back to your selection tool, to live selection tool, and now I want to go back to my model function. So I'm going to click in here, and now I can select my entire object, because that way now I can move the entire object and I don't have to deal with any of the components. So we have a new model, and we have this glass, and we just are kind of populating our 3D scene inside Cinema 4D. So that's really cool. And I will see you in our next class. For now, you have the idea of how to start manipulating objects with points, going to model, and you saw me having trouble with the selection here, pressing enter. Don't worry about this axis. We will talk about that later. But for now, you have that. Now, I'm gonna click and save. Well, you can just press Control S, but remember, if you press Control S, you're gonna save, you're gonna overwrite the one that you have. So Control Shift S, and then you're gonna be able to save as another version. So I will see you in our next class. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now. Take care.